Uber, the on-demand ride-hailing service, is one of the highest valued startups in the world. Achieving unprecedented success in only 9 years, the rapid expansion came at a high cost. Though Uber's values and culture helped the company quickly rise to the top, it has also been riddled with criticism and controversy over the years, culminating in the resignation of founder and CEO Travis Kalanick in June 2017. Uber's newly appointed CEO, Dara Khosrowshahi, now faces the formidable task of transforming Uber's culture in response to past missteps and scandals. We aim to audit the nature of Uber's organizational culture, both past and present, using Schein's model as a framework.
Using Schein's first level, let's take a look at some of Uber's key surface-level manifestations of culture. Outside of Uber's corporate environment, self-employed drivers are isolated within their cars. This often results in feelings of detachment from their employers due to the secluded and lonely nature of their work environment and the lack of interpersonal communication and interaction. The result is a divided culture between management and drivers, as Uber's management's influence over employee behavior is limited. Uber uses a simple black and white logo as a cultural symbol, expressing how they want to be perceived. The simple but sleek design exudes professionalism and quality. The logo of direct competitor, Lyft, provides a stark contrast, projecting a more casual and fun image. Uber's logo and general perceived image guides employee behavior through values of competitiveness and professionalism. Under Kalanick, Uberversity was the company's 3-day orientation for new corporate employees. This initiation involved being flown to San Francisco and partaking in numerous group activities that sought to reinforce the competitive and disruptive, win at any cost, culture of the organization. This has now shifted to classes in leadership and strategy led by Harvard professors under Dara, reflecting the marked shift in his leadership styles.
Level 2 of Schein's model describes Uber's espoused values, which include Uber's publicly stated values and cultural norms that guide employees on how work is expected to be done. A key source of an organization's culture originates from the core beliefs of the original founder, as modified by the current executive members of management. Kalanick accumulated a reputation for having an aggressive, brash, larger-than-life personality, and these traits are reflected in the tone of Uber's previous espoused values. Referencing key values, meritocracy and toe-stepping, and principled confrontation aim to encourage employees not to stray from questioning their superiors and sharing their ideas, while always be hustling and super pumpedness encourage a go-getter attitude and strong enthusiasm and commitment. The set of values drove the focus on speed and problem-solving, but have often been criticized for their vagueness and lack of direction. Upon being appointed CEO, Dara quickly prioritized the evolution of Uber's cultural norms to turn the business's image around. As opposed to Kalanick's top-down approach to culture management, Dara favored a bottom-up approach, demonstrated by his request for input and ideas from Uber's employees, receiving 1,200 submissions that were voted on more than 22,000 times. His forward-looking nature and extensive business experience are reflected in his modified list of cultural norms. Dara preserves sentiments such as customer obsession and satisfaction, making bold bets to drive development, and celebrating and connecting with cities globally. Toe-stepping has been modified into a softer form, worded as valuing ideas over a hierarchy. But clear changes have been made to remedy past blunders. In response to key controversies, Dara includes values encouraging integrity with "we do the right thing, period," and diversity inclusivity with his entry about celebrating differences. It's clear that Dara aims to give Uber employees a new sense of identity amidst past criticisms.
Now we have looked at the visible surface-level image Uber is projecting, and the organisational values that senior management is shaping. What is the reality of the basic assumptions inside of the company?
Uber's first problem, gender inequality. The company's lack of diversity can create a belief amongst employees that performance is not equally rewarded due to ingrained biases. If we look at the 2017 numbers provided by Uber, the workforce consisted of only 36.1% women globally, with an even smaller proportion in leadership roles. A management dominated mainly by white men can lead to deeply rooted biases and a lack of opportunity for employees in minority groups to progress. Ex-employee Susan Fowler's 2017 blog post described a toxic culture of sexism amongst employees' senior management in which women's voices were largely ignored. Instability. Susan Fowler wrote of a Game of Thrones political war raging within the ranks of upper management. This self-serving individualistic behavior amongst management suggests an organization not pulling in the same direction. Stability and consistency for management can help employees perform. Fowler describes the consequences of uncertainty for employees with constantly changing objectives and confusing evaluations, ultimately hurting productivity.
Uber's common goal of being reliable, convenient, and ethical can be questioned. The drivers have been accused of sexual misconduct multiple times. Getting sexually harassed and reporting it to HR, just like Susan Fowler didn't open up a legal investigation, explicitly stating that people in authority are treated with special privileges. This creates a ripple throughout the Uber's culture, saying it's okay to do what you like. This underlying assumption flows from the top line managers to bottom line. Any new recruits may use this as a factor to apply for a job with the belief that there are no consequences to poor behavior. An assumption of ethical behavior has not been evident throughout Uber's history. However, Kalanick's level 2 value of toe-stepping and hustling have clearly influenced employee behavior. This was highlighted when it came to public knowledge that Uber uses a secret software ingrained in their app to stop drivers who violate regulations from picking up officials. An article published in 2014 by Forbes states that Uber does not provide proper training to its drivers. Uber knowingly put the drivers out on the road without learning the logistics behind the car or safety health training. Uber chooses to reach their goals and profit target over the safety of its drivers or customers. This challenges their cultural values of being customer-obsessed.
In June 2017, in response to public crises, the Board of Directors unanimously agreed to adopt all recommendations from an independent investigation into Uber's workplace environment. So a year on from this tipping point, what has tangibly changed under the new CEO? An expansion of the Board of Directors from 11 to 17 helped to disempower Travis Kalanick's influence. An independent chairperson, new independent directors, and limits to early shareholders' voting power established greater board oversight. This should ensure a stronger adherence to cultural values at all levels. The appointment of Uber's first Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer in January 2018 has led to anti-bias training for new interviewers and diversity workshop programs for employees. The rare move to end the company's use of mandatory arbitration for claims of sexual harassment and assault also allowed US-based litigations to sue Uber in open court, rather than in private. However, the data from 2017 to 2018 shows slow progress on gender diversity, with global female employees up only 1.9% and women in leadership roles down 1.1%. Ethnic diversity fares slightly better, with non-white employees in leadership roles increasing globally by 11.6%. The workforce Khosrow Shahi previously oversaw at Expedia provides a comparison, with 51% female US employees in 2016. There is still much work to be done to change the assumptions of many female employees within Uber that they are less valued in a male-dominated environment. Susan Fowler wrote that women gave up on Uber HR. The company must be careful that women do not give up on Uber. If reward systems motivate behaviour, then Uber's 7% gender earnings gap amongst drivers points to another issue. A June 2018 report with input from Uber economists attempted to explain this pay gap through a difference in driver experience, location preferences, and driving speed. However, this rationalising of the issue suggests a still present gender bias deeply ingrained into Uber's culture. The report did not consider why Uber's incentive systems reward speed over safety. We can get a sense of what Uber employees themselves think of the progress in corporate culture through the anonymous structured surveys carried out by Comparably. While CEO approval is high, diversity and gender scores remain at low levels. Office culture and happiness are both ranked relatively poorly by employees to this day.
In conclusion, ex-CEO Travis Kalanick overcame issues by focusing mostly on the interests of the shareholders, upsetting employees and customers along the way. This reckless approach highlighted how Uber unethically prioritized growth at any cost, led from the top and feeding into all levels of the organization. It is important to recognize that Uber achieved remarkable business success under Kalanick, dominating the ride-sharing market in most Western countries. Despite our audit of Uber's problems, there are parts of the company's culture that help yield results and should remain. The new CEO has perhaps done more publicity work than tangibly act upon deep-rooted issues needed to rebuild a troubled culture. Though it may be shrinking, there still remains a disparity between Uber's public message on the new ethical culture and the current organizational reality internally. If we analyze Uber with Schein's model, we see that the new processes has occurred with the new CEO. Time is needed to achieve the significant task of truly rebuilding an organizational culture from top to bottom, aided by a new process of recruitment. With promising new core values established, it is now time for these to work in practice. Fundamentally reforming a broken culture will not happen overnight.